Let's be honest, when it comes to zombies maps, we are spoiled for choice. With over 36 different maps to pick from, there is a plethora of options for you when you want to sit down and enjoy a game of zombies. But at the same time, some of these maps aren't necessarily great. So in today's video, I am going to give you a list of my least favourite maps from each Call of Duty. Now, just because I'm saying that this is my worst map does not mean it's the worst map of all time, or necessarily the worst map of that game, but it's simply my opinion. And if you disagree, then that's fine, but you don't have to be an idiot in the comments. So with that in mind, let's get into World at War. So to kick us off for the very first time, World at War Zombies was a blast for me. It was one of my favourite memories growing up. But if I had to pick a map from this game, it would have to be Shinonuma. Now, like I said before, I'm not saying it's a bad map, but out of the ones we have, I just can't bring myself to pick any others. And you might be like, oh well, Nakuto Toten doesn't have anything, there's so much wrong with it. Well, that might be true, but it was the first ever experience we've ever had as a zombies map. Of course there was going to be things wrong with it, but that is also what I like about it. It is bare bones, nitty gritty. And when you look at the other maps like Verrucht and Derice, I just can't pick Shinonuma over those two. So that is why Shinonuma is the first one on our list. Next up on the list is Black Ops 1. Now, we have a lot more maps to choose from this time, but the one I am going to pick for my least favourite from Black Ops 1 is Shangri-La. Again, not a bad map, but there are just things within this map that I'm not a fan of compared to others. First things first, I don't like situations where you have to have 4 players to run the Easter egg. Now, I know this happens multiple times within the COD franchise, but this is one of the first, and that automatically put me off wanting to go back to it. And the main reason I put it as my least favourite is because of what I just said. I never really wanted to go back to Shangri-La. When I used to play Black Ops 1, I used to love going back into Kino de Toten, or 5, or even Call of the Dead. Maps like these always drew me back in. But there was something with Shangri-La I just didn't get. I didn't have that feeling of wanting to come back in and play another game. And that is why I've picked Shangri-La. Now for Black Ops 2, there are a few contenders for this position, and I had to think about this one. But the overall decision I decided to go with was actually Transit. I know a lot of people would think it would be Die Rise, but for me personally, the hype that came with this game, it was quite big at the time. And to be hit with Transit, whilst not a terrible map, there is so much wrong with it that I just can't forgive it. And I think what makes it even worse for me is the fact that it did have so much potential, but it gets let down by too many things, like the pack-a-punch mechanics. The amount of times we've all ran halfway across the map and then realised the door isn't open, don't get me started. And that's just one of the problems. When you have issues like the jet gun, the fog, etc., it just has to go on the list. I'm sorry. Next up though, we go on to a lot of people's favourite Black Ops entry, and that of course is Black Ops 3. Now for this one, it had to be Revelations. You could argue that possibly the Giant could be here, but I enjoy playing the Giant. It's a time killer, whereas I hardly go back to play Revelations. And I don't know if that's just because I can never be bothered to go through the Easter egg, or the map is just too easy once you're set up, or maybe it's just because there's no flow to the map, having to jump pad to jump pad. There's something about it that just doesn't make me want to play Revelations. And I think it's a combination of small things like I just mentioned, like Transit, that just build up and give you that feeling that you don't want to play it. So unfortunately for the devs, we did not go out with a bang the way that they thought we would when they released the last DLC, which was Revelations. Alright, so we're going to take a little step away from Black Ops for a minute, and we're going to go into our first non-tryout game for now, which was Advanced Warfare. Now, I didn't really play a lot of this game. I've probably played a handful of games on each maps at most, and can barely remember much from that, but I'm going to go with Infection. I'm not really going to waste much more time on this one. Advanced Warfare, overall, not an experience I enjoyed, and Infection was probably the worst experience I had from the lot. So we're going to move on. And we're actually going to move on to Infinite Warfare next. Now for this one, I've picked The Beast from Beyond. Now the reason I picked this is because it just did not feel like an Infinite Warfare Zombies experience to me. When we had the likes of Zombies in Spaceland, Shaolin Shuffle, Attack of the Radioactive Thing, there's just something about The Beast from Beyond that didn't click. It doesn't give me the vibes of Infinite Warfare. The map is just not for me, and while the boss fight does look cool, it's not the best. And for that reason, my choice for Infinite Warfare is The Beast from Beyond. Now to move on from that, we're going to go on to World War II. Now this is a game not enjoyed by a lot, but I really enjoy the World War II experience. I can't lie, I'm not even going to hide it, but the one that I feel didn't do itself any justice is the Tortured Path. Now this was the first time we ever saw an Outbreak style map within a Call of Duty game, with this map being split up between submaps and having to do certain contracts per se to move on. And obviously when you're the first of anything, it normally goes wrong. To me, the map just felt a bit disjointed and I didn't enjoy the experience. And that is why I've picked the Tortured Path for World War II Zombies. Alright, we're going to go back into Black Ops now, and we are going to go into Black Ops 4. Now for this one, I've actually picked two maps because I decided to do the Chaos Crew and the Ether Crew separately, because I didn't find it fair to rank them all as one. Now for the Chaos Crew, I decided to go with Voyage of Despair. When I look at all the other entrances into the franchise for the Chaos storyline, they were all pretty decent maps. Sure, Dead of the Night didn't hit every note, but visually it was a stunning map, and I feel like sometimes it gets a bit of a bad rep. 9 for me is a top tier map, and Ancient Evil is not far off it either. And when you have Voyage of Despair, which is, let's be honest, based off the Titanic, I felt like it was limited to what it could do, where it could go. That and all the tight spaces that you have to run through drives me crazy. So I've gone with Voyage of Despair for the Chaos Crew. Now, for the Ether Crew, I went for Alpha Omega. This is one of those maps that I could not get into. I've played it a handful of times, and normally I make it to the downstairs bunker area and I feel like I'm done with the game. Now when your game does that to you, it's not a fun experience. Now I know it's got its problems and I could list them all off, but I'm just going off what I feel personally. And like I said, when you don't want to play the map, that's an issue. So it's going to be rated as my worst one from Black Ops 4. Okay, next up, we're going to go and get this one out of the way and done with. It is Vanguard. Now, if I had the option to put all of them in there, I probably would. But I am going to go with the Anfang. Let's be honest, when we saw the trailers for Vanguard Zombies when it came out, everyone was hyped. It looked pretty goddamn good. But then when you got into the first map of the game, the Anfang, and you experienced what it was, it drove us insane. I didn't even bother playing the other two maps for about 7 or 8 months after they came out. And the only real good thing about this game is Shinonuma, which I put down as the worst map of World at War. Now don't get me wrong, like I said, it's not a bad map, and it was probably my favourite from Vanguard. But when your best map is a map from World at War remastered, that's saying something. And I can't think of their Anfang without thinking of that Mr. Ruffle Waffles meme. You all know what one I'm talking about. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to our last one, which is Black Ops Cold War. Now, I actually really enjoyed Cold War, and the one I'm about to mention now, I did enjoy, but I'm definitely going to put it down as my worst map, and it is Outbreak. Now, like I said about World War II, when you are the first one, you are going to get things wrong. And don't get me wrong, Cold War Outbreak improved on things that we'd seen in previous entrances. But the one thing I cannot forgive is how lackluster the maps are. When you are going from area to area, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, that signals that this is a zombies map. The only thing that's on there is the zombies. Everything else might as well be a standard Warzone map. There are no broken buildings, there are no fires, there's no indication that there's actually any zombies on the map. Nothing is damaged, nothing is broken, everything is in pristine condition, and they've literally just plonked the zombies in there. And that for me was enough to take me out of the experience of feeling like I was playing on a zombies map. And God help us, hopefully those changes to Liberty Falls are done enough, otherwise we're going to have the same situation. But that is why I did have to pick Outbreak as my worst Cold War map. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the worst map for me from every Call of Duty Zombies experience. Now my question is, which one was your least favourite from each Call of Duty entrance on this video? Let me know in the comments down below. On another note, thank you to our very first member for joining the channel. Going forward, if you are a member, you will be put on the end of the video as a thank you, as this is greatly appreciated. Apart from that, if you have enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and I shall see you in the next one.